Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alvarez Technology Group's October Cybersecurity Meetup. Glad to have you here today. I'm Jeff Dix. I'm the Chief Security Officer for Alvarez Technology Group. And we have on the call today Anil Melwani, who is our Service Manager and also a cybersecurity consultant. Luis Alvarez is off on a well-deserved vacation. He's in the air somewhere flying to South America. And so Anil and I will be leading the discussion today. What we'd like to talk about today is we've talked about some individual email security topics in the past. We're going to kind of throw two topics we've talked about in the past in the mix today, and also add a third one, which I don't think we've talked about, which is technology called DMARC. But one of the things that prompted our topic today is, Anil, I don't know if you saw it, but in the cyber heist news that phishing attacks are up 173% in the third quarter. Did you get a
Yeah, I
chance to see
saw that.
that?
That's incredible, incredible numbers.
Yeah, it's in the hundreds of millions of phishing emails in the system during the third quarter. So I definitely noticed it in my inbox. We have a pretty good email filtering system here that filters out a lot of those phishing emails and those spam emails, but regardless, I still saw an increase of just kind of garbage in my inbox that has to be
Same.
dealt with.
Yep.
Yeah. They also indicated that malware, just general malware events related to email are up also 110%. So our job's just getting more difficult, more challenging as time goes on. And I know that we're up for the challenge. I wanted to start talking in our discussion today about email filtering, which just kind of briefly mentioned. What's the state of the art in your mind of what should be in an email filtering system, and what components and what capabilities, what can organizations expect if they deploy a reasonably good email filtering system?
Yeah, some of the most important things really is like heuristic analysis, in my opinion. When I say that, I mean it's that the system should be able to look at the message and really understand whether or not it's a phishing email or whether it's something that is legitimate email. So it's the analysis of the spam filter is huge, as well as there's some basic things that it can look at too. Obviously, where it's originating from, looking if the sender matches the actual body of the email. It actually matches the sender where it's supposed to be coming from. Geo blocking to see if the IP addresses from countries that you wouldn't normally receive from, and then blocking it that way. Things along those lines can go a long way to protecting your inbox from a phishing attempt.
Yeah, I think a more advanced system that has those options that you're describing, as far as being able to exclude email maybe from North Korea or some of those other countries where there's a lot of illegitimate and threat actor activity, is certainly a must in that kind of a system. Even a very good systems, though, it's very difficult to block all phishing and malware related emails. So
Yeah,
some
virtually
are
impossible.
yeah, so it's definitely an impossible task. The threat actors and the folks that write these phishing attack campaigns are really have the advantage. We're always on the defensive in this regards, and sometimes it takes a while to be able to add a filter for specific type of phishing attack into the products. So there's always a delay, and especially in the beginning of a new attack, it's likely that these phishing emails will get through to some extent. Let's see. One of the other things that we've been doing a lot here at ATG is we've been helping a lot of customers with multi-factor authentication, adding that capability specifically to their emails. And that is, as you well know, is related to, in a response to what we call business email compromise. That is basically a user's credentials, their username and password for their email becomes known, or gets out on the dark net, and can be picked up by threat actors to try to use to compromise individuals' mailboxes. Um, Do you have any thoughts about that area and any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I think we all got used to doing for a long, long time was just reusing the same password over and over again for multiple different things. It was just, convenient and easy. And as we know, cybersecurity isn't either of those. It's not convenient or easy. It's there to keep you safe and secure and successful. So the passwords that you used to use to access, your PG&E account was also the same password that you used to get into your email, was also the same password you use for your Netflix, et cetera, et cetera. And so once those passwords became known to the bad guys, it was very easy for them to get into your email and just sit and hide there and look at what you're doing and bide their time and get ready for when it was that they actually wanted to do something malicious. So multi-factor authentication is exactly as it sounds, like you were saying, it's that extra layer of protection. So it's not just a username and a password, but then you've also got to approve access to your email via like an authenticator app. The ways of text message 6-digit codes and things are going away now because people have realized that those really aren't as secure as actually getting a notification on an app that's specific and unique to your own device.
Yeah,
But
they
yeah,
encrypt
business
all
email
the
compromise has
information
been
as well, so it's a lot safer, a lot more secure since it's encrypted. It's even if the
exactly
packets are intercepted, it's difficult to actually see the contents of those packets because it's encrypted. So
exactly it's exactly right, and that is pretty much the best line of defense against business email compromise. The threat actors getting into your business email and then doing something malicious against your email, which we see on the regular, unfortunately.
yeah, and if your end users are susceptible to falling for the tricks that are in phishing, typical, strategies that are in phishing emails, it could result in a significant loss. I know one of our customers, previous customers, had been defrauded for $60,000 because the financial staff, fell for a phishing email that appeared to be from the CEO of the organization. So definitely a risk, a financial risk, and then there's also the whole malware and ransomware risk on in some of these related to some of these emails. So
Exactly.
um, let's see, what else should we talk about in that regards? I think since I mentioned it, one of the services that we provide our clients is cybersecurity awareness training for employees, for an organization's employees. What are your thoughts on the importance of providing that training to an organization?
It's super important. The best line of defense is the user being aware of what it is that they're looking at and not clicking on links or opening attachments that could lead to infection or compromise of their email or their network. So really that's the best line of defense. We can put everything in place like multi-factor authentication and spam filters and email encryption and anti-malware and endpoint detection and response. But at the end of the day, none of those is going to be perfect. So if we can prevent the user from doing something accidentally by educating them, that's really the fundamentally, in my opinion, one of the best ways to protect your business.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think, there's a lot of programs out there, a lot of online programs that organizations can subscribe to. The one thing that I would recommend folks look for, in addition to maybe just an annual training that your employees are required to take related to cybersecurity awareness, have something that has an ongoing beat. Like the product that we use, we get a weekly topic that's relevant to cybersecurity issues that may be going on at the current time. And it's like a 2 or 3 minute video. You answer a few questions, and you get that every Thursday. For us, it's every Thursday. And it's a reminder to stay vigilant with your cybersecurity and also educate users more than just once a year on general cybersecurity awareness.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, very good. So those are two very important topics that we've covered. I'd like to now spend some time talking about a new thing that's going on out there that's being required of many cyber insurance companies, and that's a technology called DMARC. We've been adopting that here at ATG, and I knew that you were would like to talk a little bit about that. Can you kind of just lay that what DMARC is out and lay person's terms for our audience and give a little bit of information on why it's important and why it's going to be important going forward is that companies adopt this new email technology.
For sure. There's been multiple different technologies out there that verify that the email that you're sending from is an email that you're authorized to be sending from. So, in the case of mine, I send from alvareztg.com. That's our email domain here. And there are ways to verify that what I'm sending is me and not a threat actor. And one of the new ones, it's actually been around for a while, is DMARC, but it's really starting to gain momentum at this point. And again, it's not something that your average user will be able to implement. It's something that you would need an IT company or an IT person to implement for your business email domain. Again, using alvareztg.com as the example. So your business domain, not your gmail.com or your yahoo.com. But those folks are starting to require the setup of those too. And what it really does is it's a check and balance. So when I send an email out, before that message gets delivered to the recipient, their email server can do a DMARC lookup and see, the IP address, the domain, where I'm sending from, everything about me to verify that I'm actually sending it from my own legitimate email account, and it's not a threat actor or a spam company that's doing malicious work with that email. And one of the big important parts of it is, as emails become more and more important in your day-to-day business, a lot of companies use mass mailing systems, and marketing emails, or nonprofits in particular do that because they request donations. They send out emails on a regular basis asking for contributions for their nonprofit organization, and those emails can go out to thousands of people at a time, exactly the same way that spammers and threat actors send out mass emails as well. So DMARC gives you that check and balance. If you've got it implemented correctly on your business email domain, when you send out those thousands of messages from a third party, from whether you're a marketing company, even if it's something like, payroll that sends out, an email once a week or every other week with pay stubs or whatever that looks like it's coming from your business email domain, DMARC will verify that and then allow successful delivery of that. And then once you've got DMARC really implemented correctly, you can actually add another flag to your DMARC that rejects any messages that aren't from within your own little ecosystem. So no matter where the threat actor sends from, once you've got your DMARC working the way you want it, it'll guarantee that that message will never be delivered to the recipient if it didn't come from within your own little ecosystem. It's very powerful. If not set up correctly, it can be bad, because, for example, that payroll example I used, if that only happens once per month and you forget to include it in your little DMARC bubble, then once a month that email is not going to make it to the people that it needs to.
Payroll's not going to go out.
Exactly.
Or some other critical service. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
cool. I
important
was
to
pretty
tweak it
excited.
right.
I was pretty excited we got involved with that this year. As I mentioned, it's definitely a requirement we're seeing now on the cyber insurance questionnaires that we fill out for some of our customers. There's also an aspect of making sure that a message is not changed while in transit from the source. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I believe the technology is called DKIM.
Yeah, so SPF and DKIM are two other methods for verifying email. And those are the ones that people are more familiar with, and they're simpler to set up. Again, still something you would want to have an IT consultant or an IT provider help you with, because if you make a mistake, it can be really detrimental to the delivery, both inbound and outbound, of your emails. But SPF and DKIM, which have been around for a while too, are additional methods to make sure that as you're sending emails out, it's verifying things like the IP address, it's providing basic encryption, it's basic, verification that what you're sending is legitimate email to be delivered to the recipient and not spam or phishing.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I think that's with the three kind of methods or approaches or solutions that we've talked about today as far as email. If an organization is able to adopt and execute on these three areas, they'll really keep away from a possibility of somebody hijacking their domain and sending mail on their behalf, either to their employees for possible phishing scams or to outside entities and it's really a reputational hit when that happens, and it does happen. We see it on a fairly regular basis. So to ensure that the email that's being sent on your organization's behalf is actually really legit and coming from your organization is a great capability to add to any organization's email system.
Yep, absolutely. We've got a couple of questions in the chat here I'm responding to
Okay.
right now. One was just asking the name of our cybersecurity weekly news. And so we actually partner with a company, and I'm happy to share their name. It's called Breach Secure Now, that does our weekly micro trainings, as well as the annual trainings that we do as well. So I'm just putting that into the chat. I wanted to kind of speak it out there too, so that everyone could hear. And the same person's also asking about links for DMARC and DKIM. I will
Okay.
put some of those into the chat as well. So if you want to continue maybe discussing a couple more things, I'll just answer these questions here, Jeff.
Okay. Very good. Um, I think as far as email is concerned, I think it's the technology that we've been talking about, the DMARC technology, is really, if everybody adopted that, then everybody's mail would be trusted, coming from a trusted source. Wouldn't that be a miracle if we were able to do that, and that every piece of mail that you got was a legitimate, good email that wasn't spam or phishing? So I think that's sort of the nirvana, the vision of what we're describing here. Probably never be able to get there, but certainly a organization can protect its reputation by ensuring that email being sent up on their behalf is actually from them, as I mentioned. What
Exactly.
else did you want to talk about, Anil?
I think probably the other things to talk about would be email encryption.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's a pretty important one, especially when you're sending messages out that could have some privacy implications or have some personal information in there that you wouldn't necessarily want anybody else to be able to read. So we provide email encryption as one of the services that we do, and healthcare organizations, financial institutions, lawyers, CPA firms that send out sensitive information rely on that, and it's really a nice way to ensure that the message that you're sending out is not visible by anybody else. Quite often, just sending an email out, people don't realize that that's just plain text, and that if the
Yes.
bad guys get in between, it's just as simple as opening an envelope and reading your mail, and you're in between the sender and it reaching your house. So email encryption uses a special key, and it completely encrypts that email and then delivers a link to the recipient instead. So rather than just opening an email and seeing what you sent to them, they would click on a link that would take them to a secure website that they would log into, create credentials if they need to, and log into it, and then read that email. And then they can reply back in a secure way as well. So they can compose directly within that secure email system and, give what other additional information they need, any identification, any attachments, any files, and send it back encrypted to you as well. So I think that's something else people should be regularly aware of, especially if they do any communication that involves sensitive or personal information.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. And a lot of people, like you mentioned, aren't aware that most emails, the vast majority of emails, are just sent plain text. And if the packet stream is intercepted, those emails can be read directly without a whole lot of effort. So, and it's also important to point out, I think, is that not every email that you send needs to be encrypted. So there's a way, as you're composing your email, uh, no matter what the content is, you can select that specific one to be encrypted as it goes out. So yeah, that's a good. I forgot about that. We were going to talk about that. So we use a product called Bracket, which goes along with our M365 implementation, and it's very easy to use. Anything that you want to have encrypted, you just put the subject line in brackets, and it automatically encrypts and sends out. So very reliable, very efficient, and a very important thing if you need to send confidential data through email, it's the only way to do it securely at this point. So, excellent. All right. Well, hey,
Yeah, and there's actually another question that just came in, and it's right along those lines. and maybe you know the answer to this, Jeff, because I don't think I do
Okay.
off the top of my head. Does Office 365 have built-in email encryption? I mean, obviously, we provide an additional solution that gives more functionality, but is there any basic email encryption included?
They have added that and in recently. I haven't taken a good hard look at it yet to see if it's the same or has any advantages over what our added product bracket does. But that's a good question. If we've got the user's contact information, I'll do some research on that and provide them with specifics on Microsoft's current capability. They were a little slow to the gun on it, but Microsoft has been going through kind of this thing now, is where they're really trying to fill security holes in their services, their suites of services, and their infrastructure services. So that's a high priority for them. But for now, we use Bracket, and it works really good.
Yep. And that person did share their contact information in the chat question and answer session here. So we'll definitely get in touch with you and give you some more information. We'll try and find some links specifically to Office 365, email security, email encryption, and get that information over to you. And just for other folks too, just as a reminder, there is the chat and the Q&A. So feel free to throw any questions that you have into either of those. I'm trying to keep an eye on them as we go along to make sure that we address your questions. And of course, if you have anything that you want to bring up that you didn't remember during our time here, please by all means reach out to us. info@alvareztg.com is a great email address to reach out to us from, or go to our website, alvareztg.com, and send us information from in there too. Well, we still got a few minutes left here. I think the only other one I really wanted to talk about, is just it is Cybersecurity Month. That's one of the things about October, is it's Cybersecurity Month, and that we are starting to move towards the holiday season, which is one of those times where the bad guys really start to target the phishing and the get me your gift cards and things like that, so that they can do their nefarious acts. So I think this is just a really good time for everyone to be extra cautious about looking at what they're doing in their email. I always like to reiterate the SLAM method, the SLAM. So if you receive an email, check the sender, make sure it's coming from the person that you are expecting it from, and it's not just the name. Look at the actual email address, that it's not a false email address impersonating them. Look at any links in the email, hover over those links and look at the actual address before you click on anything. That way you can see if the link is really going to where it's supposed to. A is
Yeah,
for
it should be related.
attachments. Yep, exactly. A is for attachments. Look at any attachments. Don't open an attachment unless you're actually expecting it to be what you think. And then look at the body of the message too. Like if you receive an email on a regular basis, like, Jeff and I email each other all the time. I'm going to recognize right away if Jeff's language is slightly different than the way it'd be normally. Jeff is a kind of guy that's always going to wish somebody a good morning or say, how are you at the beginning of the email. If he just gets straight into it without any kind of nicety, I'm probably not going to think it's from Jeff. So yeah, look at those four things: the sender, the link, the attachment, and the body of the message before you access anything in that email.
Wow, that's a fantastic way to end our meetup this month, Anil. Thank you very much for all that very useful information. Are there any last minute questions in the queue before we sign off?
Yeah, there was one here asking, is there an extra authentication that businesses can use that is not too expensive? So I think this person's asking again about DMARC, DKIM, SPF. That would be a little easier for them to implement. They also have, as an example, in addition to log into your email and Outlook Online, for example. So I think kind of leaning towards the multi-factor authentication and also making sure that they have some ways of verifying that their messages can be delivered.
Okay.
I think we'll want to probably ponder that one and get back to you separately on that, if that's okay, Josephine. I think that we'll put our heads together and see what we can come up with and reach out to you along with the other questions that you asked.
Yeah, I would say what else comes to mind is multi-factor authentication. We talked about that. Microsoft now provides and prefers that users of Microsoft products use Microsoft Authenticator. That is a free download. So that's free. There's no product cost there. The cost usually in doing an MFA project is getting all the users set up. and in the various different methods. Probably should mention too, we with multi-factor authentication for email. Typically, you can get a SMS text with a PIN code. Usually, it's 6 characters, or you can get set up to have a phone call to your desk phone and provide a PIN for you there. Or you have to use either the Microsoft Authenticator app or Google Authenticator or any of the other authentication apps that are out there. In the future, in the very near future, the next couple of years, um, Microsoft will not be allowing SMS text messaging for two-factor authentication or MFA or the direct call to a phone anymore. So they're going to require you actually to use the Microsoft Authenticator app, which a lot of people will be unhappy with because it's more configuration and more setup to do. But as a security professional, it is actually going to be more secure than the SMS text messages and the direct to phone method as well. So
Yeah, and I quickly grabbed the link for that from Microsoft Support Knowledge Base on using the Microsoft Authenticator app with Microsoft 365, and I put it into the chat there. So if anyone else wants to read about how to get that set up, that is something that you're more than able to do for yourself. If you do use Office 365, you follow those instructions, and it'll help you get your email that extra layer of security that it deserves.
great. Well, we'll get ready to sign off here. I want to thank you, Anil, again for your time and your knowledge and experience and your contributions to today's call. And thank everyone out there in Cyberland for attending our call. Hopefully, you had some nuggets of information that'll be useful for you in your cybersecurity efforts in your organizations. Thanks again
Yep.
for attending, and we'll see you guys next month in November.
We'll see you in November. Thanks, everyone. Take care.